Welcome, everyone. I'm Stacy Shoemaker-Rowan, Editor-in-Chief of Hospitality Design Magazine and the Senior Vice President of the Design Group here at Emerald. Welcome, and we are so excited to have you here for this amazing session sponsored by Sunbrella Contract. We at HD, we recognize, we track, we write about the increasing importance of wellness and designing for well-being. And it is exciting to talk today about a hugely important topic in that wellness space, mindfulness. And so, as I said, we are so grateful to our amazing partner, Sunbrella Contract, for presenting this HSW CEO accredited session, Designing for Mindfulness and Wellbeing. Throughout the presentation, we will be sending you fun and interactive polling questions to get your thoughts and opinions, so be ready for that. And as a reminder, following this session, you will receive an email with a certificate of course completion, including an IDCEC course number for self-reporting. Plus, this session will be available on demand at hospitalitydesign.com for 1 year. So be sure to send it around to your fellow colleagues. Before I introduce our presenter, a few housekeeping notes that we must go through. First, we broadcast audio via the internet. So if you can see the slide, but you can't hear the audio, please check that your audio is on, unmuted, and the volume is adjusted. If you have problems receiving audio, click on the question mark and select Test My System Now. Sometimes disconnecting and rejoining the webcast will improve your audio stream. Also, it is easy to ask a question. Look for the Ask a Question box to enter and submit your questions and comments. We will try to get through them throughout the talk. And you can also feel free to chat with your fellow viewers in the chat box. You can also ask about technical issues and receive immediate answers from our producers by using the Ask a Question box. So without further ado, less of me, to present today's session, I'm happy to introduce Catherine Minervini, the National Hospitality and A&D Manager for Sunbrella. Devoted to the commercial interior design industry, Catherine has 3 decades of experience in interior design, marketing, and branding. After many years living and working in New York City and LA, she now resides in the famous seaside town of Asbury Park, New Jersey, not far from where my family grew up. So we're so pleased to have you presenting today. Welcome, Catherine. It's so great to see you.
Thank you. Thank you, Stacy. Thank you so much for having us on behalf of Sunbrella Contract. And thank you to the hospitality design team. You guys can hear me, right?
Yep.
Okay, great. There's a little delay, so I got a little thrown off there. So thank you so much for having us today. This is this presentation was designed a couple of years ago. But is still very relevant today. And so I'll keep you abreast of some of the statistics that might be a couple years old, but moving forward into this year and beyond. So we'll get started. Okay, I'm on 2 different screens here. Just bear with me. All right. All right, so mindfulness, designing for mindfulness and well-being. There are about 80 slides in this presentation. They go fairly fast. They're visually very good looking. So again, if you've got any questions, please feel free to put them in the audience chat. There's also a couple of polling questions that we incorporated just to keep you engaged, and they're kind of fun, I hope. So we'll get, okay. Sorry, let me just get my bearings here. All right. So the objectives for today are what is mindfulness? We're going to cover the physical and mental health benefits associated with mindfulness, how to become more mindful, which companies are providing mindfulness training and practice to their employees. There's a couple of really great case studies in this presentation. How to incorporate mindfulness into your own work environment, and how to incorporate mindfulness into your designs. So before diving into our primary subject, we're going to take a few minutes to understand our collective state of mind, what's affecting Americans, and perhaps you'll see yourself in parts of this picture. I will also like to add that just this week, there was an article by the author Adam Grant that was published in the New York Times, and it's called "There's a Name for the Blah That You're Feeling." It's called languishing. And so if you haven't seen it already, I know that it was floating around on social media in a few places. They're saying that languishing may be the dominant emotion of 2021. So I think that was really apropos for given the topic that we're covering today and this week. So we are a pretty stressed out bunch. We're sleep deprived, distracted, largely enslaved to our phones and social media, and we're always seeking likes. We're desperate to feel in control of our lives and happiness. So we're going to take a look at some of the major challenges one at a time. There are 5 parts to this presentation, so we'll go through each one of those. So there's lots of great quotes in this presentation. Here's the first one. There cannot be a stressful crisis next week. My schedule is already full. I think we've all been there. And so what is stress? According to WebMD, stress causes hormonal, respiratory, cardiovascular, and nervous system changes. Stress can make your heart beat faster. It can make you breathe rapidly, sweat, and tense up. It can also give you a real burst of energy, right? So that can sometimes be helpful, especially around deadlines. But the net effect can really wreak havoc on our mind, body, and spirit. According to the CDC, stress-related health problems are responsible for up to 80% of doctor visits and account for the 3rd highest healthcare expenditures behind only heart disease and cancer. In fact, stress is a factor in 5 out of the 6 leading causes of death: heart disease, cancer, stroke, lower respiratory disease, and accidents. According to the Huffington Post, an estimated 75 to 90% of all doctor visits are for stress-related issues. But according to the CDC, only about 3% of doctors actually talk to patients about how to reduce stress and fight its effects. I think right now we're probably seeing an increase just because there has been a lot of talk about mental health over the past year. So hopefully doctors are on top of it a little bit more. The American Psychological Association reports people who cited physical stress-related symptoms experience the following: fatigue, headaches, upset stomach, muscle tension, change in appetite, teeth grinding, change in sex drive, and feeling dizzy. I'll give you a second to just take a look at those percentages. The American Psychological Association also looked at the psychological toll of stress and found that people who cited psychological stress-related symptoms experienced the following: irritability or anger, feeling nervous, lack of energy, and feeling as though they could cry, which happens to me a lot. Americans report the following as major causes of stress in their lives. So I think we've all felt something. We can attribute our stress to one of these: job pressure, finances, health, relationships, media overload. I think we've really felt that, especially in the last election. Technology, social media. I think social media can also be really tough on us, feeling like we have a fear of missing out, or we're not doing enough, or we're not having enough fun. And another really big one is sleep deprivation. According to the 2016 American Psychological Association and the American Institute of Stress report entitled Stress in America, these 6 factors weigh Americans down the most, and the percentages are the percent of all respondents who indicated being stressed about this particular topic. However, since this, there have been other studies on elections, and new factors entered into the picture, which included the future of our nation. 63% of respondents were stressed out about this. 57% were stressed about our political climate, and 51% were stressed about violence and crime. And this survey included 3,511 American adults over the age of 18. The Journal of Occupational and Environmental Medicine reports healthcare expenditures are nearly 50% greater for workers who report high levels of stress. And so we're going to get into this next section called sleeplessness. This is another good quote: "A ruffled mind makes for a restless pillow." The National Sleep Foundation recommends an adult get 7 to 9 hours of sleep with a minimum of 6 hours. And so now we're going to pull up our first poll, which asks you, how many hours of sleep do you get each night? And is that poll, will I see that poll? I'm not sure I'll see that poll or not. If Jackson or Rachel can just send me a quick note. I can't see the poll, but okay. If you'd like to see okay, I see, here we go. All right. We've got 4 to 5 hours, 5 to 6 hours, 6 to 8 hours, or 8 or more hours. So it looks like if you would like to see the results, you can click on the surveys tab to see the poll results. And it looks like 6 to 8. That's pretty good. 61% of you have gotten 6 to 8 hours of sleep a night. That is really, really good. I know that I've asked this question typically when I do these in person. I'll ask this question as well to the live audience. So it's great. That's not a very sleep deprived bunch. So the Gallup organization notes that 79%. Let me get back to the slides. Sorry about that. The Gallup organization notes that 79% of people get less than the recommended hours of sleep. Our national average is 6.8 hours, and 40% of Americans fall below the 6-hour threshold. In 2014, the CDC labeled sleep deprivation a public health epidemic, with over 70 million adults suffering from a sleep disorder. And those forms of sleep disorders would include things like insomnia, narcolepsy, restless leg syndrome, and sleep apnea. Sleeplessness has also been linked by the CDC to depression, ADHD, obesity, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, cancer, and Alzheimer's. According to Forbes.com, consumers spend $41 billion on sleep-related products. That was in 2015. And they expected that to rise to $52 billion as of last year. So sleep-related products would include mattresses, pillows, white noise machines, sleeping pills, and sleep coaches. Another expensive problem for the American economy is multitasking, distractions, and interruptions. So we're going to take a look at the effects of those now. So this is the next question. The next poll that's coming up is, do you consider yourself a really good multitasker? And I don't even have to really look at this, because I can guarantee you that the majority of you will say yes. So let's see. All right. Here we go. It just takes a second for them to come up. So 57% of you said yes. 11% said no, and 30% of you said sometimes. So we're going to get into this a little bit. So what looks like multitasking is really switching back and forth between multiple tasks, which reduces productivity and increases mistakes by up to 50%. And this is from Susan Cain. She's a design researcher, and she's known mostly for her work with Steelcase on introverts in the workplace. And this is what she has to say about multitasking. Forbes.com reports that 98% of the population doesn't multitask very well. The 2% that does are outliers or supertaskers. And multitasking reduces productivity by up to 40%. So I think we have another poll, our third poll, which is the average worker is interrupted every 3 minutes and 5 seconds, 5 minutes and 3 seconds, or 7 minutes and 5 seconds. So I'd like to see what you guys have to say, and then I will give you the answer. So let's see. I always thought I was a really good multitasker until I started giving this presentation. Now I have to question myself. I've also found the past year a little hard to focus, and I think I fall into the languishing emotion. So I'd love to know what you think after you read that article. Okay, so, oh my gosh, this is such a good audience, because the answer is 3 minutes and 5 seconds. So according to the research at the University of California, Irvine, the average American worker is interrupted every 3 minutes and 5 seconds. And it can take 23 minutes and 15 seconds for them just to get back to where they left off. So a lot longer. The interruption happens pretty quickly, and it keeps taking that much longer to get back to where you were. According to Forbes.com, 71% of people report frequent interruptions when they're working. And when workers are frequently interrupted, there's only a 44% chance that they'll feel like today was a really successful day. Jonathan Spira, author of Overload, How Much Information is Hazardous to Your Organization, estimates that interruptions and information overload eat up 28 billion wasted hours a year at a loss of almost $1 trillion to the U.S. economy. And in the services industry, that can really, time is literally money, so that can really be crippling. A University of London study found that multitasking when attempting to do cognitive tasks lowered IQ scores as much as if study participants had used marijuana or stayed up all night. A study from the University of Sussex in the UK ran MRI scans on the brains of individuals who spent time on multiple devices at once, for example, texting while watching television. And the MRI scans showed that subjects who multitasked more often had less brain density in the anterior cingulate cortex. And that's the area that's responsible for empathy and emotional control. And we're going to go over that in a couple slides. Okay, so where does all the stress and sleeplessness and a distraction leave us? We're going to get into that. According to the World Happiness Index, the U.S. ranks 19th in the world of happiness. And so we have another survey just to kind of keep you guys on your toes, because so far you're doing really, really well with these questions. And the question is, which countries do you think ranked in the top 4? So I'll wait for those to come up. Norway, Denmark, Finland, and Greenland. Norway, Denmark, Iceland, and Switzerland. Denmark, Finland, Iceland, and Greenland, or Finland, Iceland, Greenland, and Switzerland. Starting to get to be tongue twisters. All right, so, oh my gosh, I love this. You're almost all even. Wait a minute, they're still coming in. So which of the countries do you think ranked in the top 4? All right, we've got 42% of you said Norway, Denmark, Iceland, and Switzerland, and you are correct. Great job. All right. So now the next slide, this is where it gets kind of personal for us, right? So designers rank kind of a little far down the list here. They rank just ahead of messengers, door-to-door salespeople, and furniture salespeople in terms of happiness. Plumbers, soldiers, farmers, and bank tellers rank a little higher. So again, this is based on a survey of professions, each of which self-reported their happiness, and responses were averaged to create an average happiness score by profession. I will give the caveat that I don't know for sure if designers, this is not just interior designers, this is designers in general. So it can be all kinds of product, graphic, fashion designers. So just keep that in mind. But this usually when I give this, I'll go to the next slide and then everyone says, wait, go back. So, so what do we do to feel better? Right? We kind of do these Band-Aid solutions. We get massages, pedicures, manicures, we go on vacation, we do shopping, job change, maybe we drink more, we might break up and move on. But when the vacation is over and the honeymoon period ends, we're kind of back where we started. So we bring ourselves to our lives every day and we can't avoid it, but perhaps rather than changing what's outside of ourselves, it's time to start changing what's inside. And so in our second part, we're going to talk more about mindfulness. In this section, we're going to clarify what the concept of mindfulness is, how the brain works, and how mindfulness can affect that. And we'll explore different types of mindfulness practices and how to get started. And I would imagine that a lot of you are probably already doing stuff like this. So what is it? What is mindfulness really? Mindfulness is the ability to experience life in the moment, free of judgment and unwanted emotions. It occurs when we train our brain to slow down and focus on what's in front of us, to not focus on the past or the future, but the present. And when we respond with a calm brain, or with a calm brain focus on what is rather than what was or could be, then we make purposeful choices and engage with life in a peaceful, meaningful way. So our brain and its ability to adapt has allowed our species to survive. So in prehistoric times, the amygdala and hippocampus allowed us to detect threats and react instinctively to preserve our life. So you can see the highlighted, that highlighted area there. And so the slide is not going to change, but the light is going to. So I'll just flip back so you can see that. But over time, life or death encounters have become less frequent, and our brains adapted to help us respond to a more modern day occurrence. And so the prefrontal cortex really evolved, and with it, our ability to reason. So this was more of a reaction. The ancient brain was reactive, and our more modern brain helps us to, gives us the reason, helps us to reason. So the difference between reacting and responding is a pause, a brief moment between noticing what signals the amygdala and hippocampus are sending you, and then deciding what to do with that information. So when we slow down enough to let the prefrontal cortex engage, we can respond to what life brings on rather than merely react. And so the more you're able to find that pause, the better that you get at it. Practicing mindfulness has been shown to transform the brain the way exercise can transform our bodies. And that's because the brain is a muscle of neural pathways that are strengthened with repetition. The more we react to life out of fear, frustration, and anger, the better that we get at it. And so luckily, the converse is also true. And we can break old habits, we can break old pathways, and we can create new ones. And that's really what that's really what mindfulness is. And so it's really powerful to transform your brain, right? And it's a little easier to do that than a gym membership. Although I don't know if anybody has gym memberships these days. So cultivating mindfulness is developing a consistent routine and a mind-body practice. These types of practices can put you in touch with what your body is telling you, so you can find the pause. And these are all different types of mindfulness practices. In fact, we also have a survey that's popping up. I think this is our last one. And so are you practicing any one of these methods? Yes, no, maybe sometimes. I know personally, I've done a lot of yoga over the years. I've not been very good lately. Maybe you're doing yoga, maybe you're already meditating, doing some just body scans and deep breathing, Tai Chi. So yes, 25% of you, yes, 20% no, and 54% sometimes. I think I would fall into the sometimes category as well. So really, the next section is just about getting started, and a daily 10 to 15 minute mind-body practice can begin to reshape your neural pathways. You can consider it a bicep curl for your brain. I think the time frame, I've read this a number of times, I'm sure you know this, is 21 days to build a new habit. So I think if you're going to start something, you've got to give yourself 21 days in a row. So some simple options to get you going. You can begin your day with a sun salutation or a quick yoga sequence, maybe stop midday for a body scan or focus on your breath, or maybe end your day with a guided meditation. Really, the trick is to find something that sticks and that you can do consistently every day, no matter where you are. And if you need a reminder because you're too stressed or sleepy or distracted, there are thousands of apps. So some of these, I'm sure, I use Calm. My husband uses Headspace. I'm sure I also have a new one that I'm using, which is the Oprah Winfrey and Deepak Chopra meditation app. It's excellent. I highly recommend it. So you might already be using some of these: Headspace, Calm, Insight Timer, Mindfulness. These are all really helpful, and again, that help you find something consistent. So we're going to talk about the benefits of mindfulness. Mindfulness-based stress reduction, also known as MBSR, was created by John Kabat-Zinn at the University of Massachusetts in the 70s, and it's based in the study of mindfulness meditation. His findings kickstarted what has become a mainstream industry. And really, now we have all of this data on the science of the mind. So the findings have moved beyond that of meditation and have been attributed to other mind-body practices. And so because we have all this vast research in the disciplines of psychology, neuroscience, and medicine that provides evidence that mindfulness can improve attention, cognition, emotions, behavior, and physiology. A 2011 study indicated that meditative techniques focused on breathing significantly counteract the effects of pain intensity from 11% to 70% and pain discomfort from 20 to 93%. A study conducted by Rutgers University in 2015, which was called Meditation and Its Regulatory Role on Sleep by Najinda Frontiers in Neurology, that was in April 18, 2012, found that mindfulness meditation boosts the naturally occurring sleep compound melatonin by at least 98%. According to a study by the Journal of Management, extra melatonin allows practitioners to sleep more deeply, more soundly, and more effectively. And in time, meditators wake up feeling refreshed and revitalized each and every morning. Melatonin supplements are neither as pure nor as potent as the melatonin produced by the body. So even though they could be helpful, they're just not as they're just not as strong. We sometimes need we need to regulate our emotions so that our behavior does not end up at the mercy of our feelings. The Journal of Management also research suggested that mindfulness may improve relationships through greater emotional regulation, empathy, and compassion, bolstering workplace processes that rely on effective leadership and teamwork. So now that we've just covered what mindfulness is, we're going to go into applying it in your own studios and workplaces. There's also coming up our two really good case studies here that we're going to review. According to the 8th Annual Survey on Corporate Health and Wellbeing by Fidelity Investments and the National Business Group on Health, which included 141 large and mid-sized organizations, 22% of employers offered mindfulness training programs in 2016, and that number was expected to double by now. Some of the highest performing companies and organizations in the U.S. currently practice mindfulness and have mindfulness programs available for their employees. And so these are some of the ones that were part of that survey. So we're going to go through two case studies. The first one is Aetna, and the second one is Google. So the first one is, you're probably familiar with Aetna, which is the health insurer. And according to their chief mindfulness officer, Andy Lee, the company's program was really intended to teach ways to help people reduce stress, target obesity and metabolic syndrome risk factors, and make lasting lifestyle behavior changes. And all the programs offer personal benefits at work and in life. Their programs include the Mindfulness at Work and Metabolic Health in Small Bites, BYTES programs. A mindfulness program for employees in 2011, and in the first 2 years alone, over 13,000 Aetna employees took advantage of the program. So that's a while ago. So they've been using this format for a long time. They found that a highly stressed employee cost the company an extra $2,000 per year in healthcare when compared to their less stressed peers. Aetna's mindfulness programs produced more than a 35% decrease in perceived stress. And participants also reported a 20% improvement in sleep. In 2012, as mindfulness programs ramped up, their healthcare costs fell a total of 7%, which equals $6.3 million going straight to their bottom line, partly attributed to the mindfulness training. Aetna also calculated that productivity gains, I'm so sorry, that's my dog. Aetna also calculated that productivity gains alone were about $3,000 per employee, equaling an 11-to-1 return on investment. The data is based on metrics from Aetna's internal mindfulness programs, but Aetna member companies have also seen cost savings and productivity gains that are really similar to this. So it's a pretty big deal for them. To further leverage the benefits of mindfulness, in June of 2017, Aetna opened its first mindfulness clinic at its Harvard, Connecticut headquarters, and the classes are offered 3 to 4 days a week, and remote workers can join the classes virtually. So they were working remotely much earlier than we all were. So this is the second case study, which is Google. Their top mindfulness program, which is called Search Inside Yourself, was developed with the help from Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh and other leading mindfulness teachers. It encompasses 20 hours of mindfulness and emotional intelligence training spread over 20 weeks with 3 modules. And we're going to go over each one of those modules. Attention training is the first one. The idea of attention training is to create a quality of mind that is calm and clear at the same time, and that quality of mind forms the foundation for emotional intelligence. The second one is self-knowledge and self-mastery. In this class, participants work to become able to observe their thought stream and the process of emotion with high clarity, and to do so objectively from a third-person perspective. Once one can do that, one creates a deep self-knowledge that eventually enables self-mastery. And the third one is creating useful mental habits. The focus in this class is to help students, whenever they meet anybody, to have the habitual, instinctive wish for that person to be happy. Having such habits changes everything at work because the sincere goodwill is picked up subconsciously by others and creates the type of trust that leads to highly productive collaborations and a culture of trust within the organization. And so their participants reported these findings: a reduction of stress in more than 50%, a near doubling of their ability to focus, a near tripling of their ability to maintain calm and poise under pressure, and gain 62 minutes a week in productivity. So those are some pretty big statistics. Google also asked their leaders how mindfulness helped them. So 93% of leaders reported that mindfulness training helped them create space for innovation, and nearly 70% said it helped them to think more strategically. Again, big numbers, big differences. Google's research concluded that mindfulness leads to greater individual well-being. One study even found that 2 weeks of mindfulness training increased well-being, decreased emotional exhaustion at work, and even increased job satisfaction. Reduces interpersonal stress and improves relationships, and reduces healthcare costs by 7%. They also claim that it improved performance among managers and leaders and makes organizations more effective. So how do we tap into what Google, Aetna, and others that are reaping benefits? How do we tap into the same thing? And how can you start how do you start to incorporate mindfulness into your own studios, with your own teams and your own personal lives, but also talking to your clients about it? I think that's something that this presentation doesn't really go into too far, but when I do give this in person, that is a conversation that I usually have with the audience. It turns out that we can really apply this almost anywhere, right? So we can really start by creating quiet spaces for our employees, or to cultivate mindfulness. We might ban phones from meetings, or not only will the team be more productive, but you'll probably spend less time in the meetings. You can encourage groups to turn their meetings into group or walk outside. And look, this presentation was designed before COVID. And so I would challenge everyone to maybe take some of these ideas, even though we're Zooming now and not in person, but how can you, can you have a meeting on a conference call instead of Zoom, and maybe all go on a walk, or a couple of you going on a walk or whatever, but thinking about how to apply some of these ideas, or take these ideas and manipulate them to work for the way that supports how we're working today. I think the key here is really to be mindful of your space and what's working for you. In this case, your time, right? All the time that we're spending on Zoom or in virtual meetings. We can also try to create indoor-outdoor workspaces, which we're seeing a big trend as we move back to the workspace. Shift your work to a space that allows you to be mindful, find the pause, and get your best work done. That's really the goal. And of course, if all else fails, you can Google it. The Search Inside Yourself Leadership Institute offers coaching and classes. I have a friend who's a physical therapist and acupuncturist, and she's starting to get hired by companies to do wellness at the desk, right? To teach people how they can. I think we really start to rely on the products that can help us be ergonomic, but having some accountability ourselves to do stretching and movement, acupuncture points to help relieve stress, both physically and mentally. And so now that we have some ideas of how to apply it to in the workplace, we can take a look at designing. What are some of the elements in designing spaces? Again, these are things that I'm sure you're all already incorporating into your designs. And according to Work Design Magazine, there's always a space, there's always a space that can be used for employees to cultivate their mindfulness practice. And for example, the World Bank and Eileen Fisher have meditation rooms specifically designed for their staff to decompress. And really, it's about creating features that can pull your mind away from the stress of the day and focus on something else to give it release. The most important requirement is for a space that encourages mindfulness practice and that it triggers your body's senses and to feel free from distraction. And so in areas like New York, where maybe real estate is at a premium, there are also things like the Be Time meditation bus, which can bring calming spaces to your client's workspace as opposed to creating the space inside. And again, this could be something that, maybe you're offering to your clients. According to workplace expert Oliver Heath, by increasing the amount of natural light, creating views of nature, you're really designing opportunities for occupants to have greater awareness of the present moment. Again, it's always about tapping into your senses. He also suggests introducing plants. We've seen this over the past few years. Green walls, living green walls, having them as part of our interior really helps us to be present, but also plants can help people concentrate better, both at home and workplace. They can emit a scent, which can help pull the worker back into the present moment. He also recommends thinking about a range of natural surface textures. So timber furniture, grains, very tactile upholstery, anything to provide haptic stimulation to occupants. The stimulation helps people connect to the present moment and the space that they're inhabiting. And again, there's also all kinds of products out there, such as meditation pods. This can be, anything that's made with organic interior, maybe multiple layers of wood or materials. Again, really helping us to remember where we are. I had somebody recently tell me that if you start to get anxious or stressed, or you're thinking about the past or the future, look down at your feet. Your feet will always remind you where you are. And I think that's what the whole concept here is with textures and materials and surfaces and the variety of them. He also feels that individual thermal controls could help us. This is always a challenge, we know that, to adjust temperature and airflow according to what the individual needs. So feeling air moving across our skin makes us more aware of our immediate environment and the sensations of our body, and really can help pull us into the present moment. So it's really interesting to think about our engaging the senses as part of, we look at products for design, but not always for our senses. And so really incorporating that, really finding creative ways to engage all of the five senses. And so when we do that, we really help inhabitants of a space gain greater awareness of their bodies and the present moment. And as designers, we have the opportunity to not only serve our clients, but also contribute to the well-being of the workforce. And so this is really wrapping up this presentation. Over the past hour, we've seen some symptoms of our collective state of mind. We've explored how mindfulness can help us find greater happiness, despite what might be going on around the world around us. We've investigated how to use it individually with our work teams, and we've offered some thought starters on how to design to help encourage mindfulness in a space. The goal here is really in mindfulness training is to notice when we are distracted by negative thoughts or living in the past or future, to disengage and redirect our attention to the present, to sustain our attention in the present, and repeat and repeat. So doing this over and over and over again. So I challenge you to go forward with the intention of continuing a journey toward a mindful living and enjoy the journey. Just experience it, stay present, and enjoy it. So some of the last things here, last few slides. And if anybody would like these, I can always get these. I can work with the HD team to get these to you. But these are some books and websites that if you're new to this, you can look into it from some of these resources. And if you've got any that you'd like to share, please let me know. And thank you so much for your time. Thank you again to Stacy and the whole hospitality design team for putting this together and producing it. Happy Earth Day, everyone. Today's Earth Day. What a great subject to talk about on Earth Day. So thank you so much for having me. And I guess I should just see, should I go through the audience chat a little bit and see if there's any questions?
Yeah, there's one question about lead times. And what steps you've taken to improve your lead times. I don't know if you want to talk about that. It's a little.
Oh boy.
Or just talk about challenges in general. What's happening? How's it going?
Yes, we are experiencing really long lead times, unfortunately. That is, that's not just because of capacity issues that we have, although we have been adding to our capacity to help with that, but it's also just supply chain. So our orders have really outpaced our capacity. That's one problem, but also just down the supply chain and getting some of the raw materials is problematic. So we are working on it. We have a whole team that keeps us abreast of that every single day, every week. And so we're working on that, but it's a really tough situation right now. We understand that, and we are very, very sensitive to it.
Yeah. I think it's across the board.
Yeah.
It's
really tough. I know.
Yeah.
And we're really, we straddle residential and contract. So, and a lot of products really cross over. As we all know, the residential business is really booming right now, especially outdoor. So it's definitely been a challenge for us.
Yeah, exactly. Is there anything that you are, there's a question. Will you share the research sources and bibliography with the audience?
Yes, I can do that. I'll work with you guys to figure that out.
Great.
I'll do that. I have something I'll send to Rachel and Jackson, and when they do the follow-up, they can also add that to it if they want. So, I see a few comments here that it is really a topic that really is. It's always a great topic, but I think even more so now, it's really resonating. So,
yeah. Is there any? Some people are asking, are you all looking into new recycled products or anything to kind of weave into your products that's new and innovative on the wellness and sustainability front?
We're always looking at that from an R&D standpoint. In fact, just this month, we launched our corporate sustainability report because we are part of Glen Raven, which is doing all kinds of things across all different types of fabrics that we do produce. And we have a take-back program. Most of it is through pre-consumer. So any of the manufacturers that we work with, or any of the product like umbrella companies and furniture manufacturers that are making furniture or accessories with our Sunbrella fabric, any scrap that they have from that comes back to us. And we're always looking at developing products. So it's definitely something that we're trying to do more of, for sure.
Awesome. Is there anything through all of your research and anything that really sticks out in your mind as something like kind of a interesting takeaway, especially after the past wonderful 14 months that we've all been kidding, of course.
Yeah.
The challenging 14 months that we've been going through.
You know, I think personally, you know, it's funny because I've been giving this for a while now, but it almost has a different meaning to me personally. I think we get really wrapped up in trying to, we're all planners, you know, we're in an industry that we live on deadlines and plans and future deadlines. And it's sometimes really hard to reconcile how do we take things day by day. And in a lot of the reading that I've been doing, mostly it's articles. I read a lot of articles and talking to a lot of friends and colleagues that are interested in some of this, in the same subject matter. I think it's every time you sort of get ahead of yourself, you just have to take a pause. It's been really helpful for me personally. And I think even in our work lives and working on projects, we have to just take that time to sit back and take a bigger look at things, to not get so, stressed about it. It's I mean, I'm not an expert on this. This is just, this is a program that we put together as a company. So I wouldn't claim myself as a meditation expert. I'm just really reading the facts and reading some of the research, but we are looking to update this as well. So we'll stay tuned for a new generation of it in the next year or two.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Catherine. It's always such a joy to hear your presentations.
Thank you so much.
This is all what we needed. And if you want to see the presentation again, it's at hospitalitydesign.com/webinars. It'll be posted in the next couple of hours. We'll be in touch with the bibliography and other resources that you all requested. We'll send out an email.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you so much for attending. Happy Earth Day. Do something nice for Mother Nature.
Good point. Yes. Thank you.